My name is Dalton Reed, yes, like the town in Georgia, and yes, I've heard every joke. I'm 53 years old, and I'm sitting here in my too-quiet apartment in Naperville, Illinois, drinking lukewarm coffee from a mug that says World's Best Mom, a Mother's Day gift from 2009. The irony isn't lost on me. I need to tell you what happened 6 months ago in that courtroom, because I've spent 28 years being the woman who kept her mouth shut, who smoothed things over, who made sure everyone else was okay. And where did that get me? Divorced, broke, and watching my own daughter choose sides in a war I didn't even know I was fighting. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this really started, not the divorce hearing, but a Tuesday afternoon in October 2023, when I found a bank statement that made my hands shake so hard I had to sit down on our kitchen floor, the floor I'd mopped every Saturday for 2 decades, the floor where my daughters took their first steps, the floor that suddenly felt like it was crumbling beneath me. I had opened an envelope addressed to my husband, Marcus. We'd always had separate finances. His idea, he said it was cleaner that way, but this one came to our house, not his office, and something about the envelope felt wrong. Heavy, official. Inside was a statement from an investment account I'd never heard of. The balance made me gasp, $347,000. Our mortgage was $280,000. We'd supposedly been struggling. We'd supposedly needed to borrow against my mother's inheritance last year to pay for our younger daughter Simmons' senior year at Northwestern. My coffee had gone cold in my hand that afternoon. Outside, October leaves were doing their beautiful Midwestern death dance, all orange and gold before they hit the ground. I remember thinking how perfect everything looked from the outside. Our brick colonial with the black shutters, Marcus's BMW in the driveway, the pumpkins on the porch that I'd arranged just so. Picture-perfect suburban life. But inside, I was drowning. See, here's what you need to understand about my family. I was always the responsible one, the oldest daughter of a school teacher and a factory worker in Rockford. I got a scholarship to Illinois State, graduated with honors, became a paralegal. I met Marcus when I was 25. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep with big dreams and a bigger smile. We got married fast, had our first daughter Bryn when I was 26, then Simon 3 years later. And I quit my job. Marcus said it made sense, his salary was growing, the girls needed me home, daycare was expensive. It made sense. Everything he said always made sense, right up until it didn't. For 26 years I ran that house like a military operation. Packed lunches, doctor's appointments, science fair projects, dance recitals, college applications. I stretched every dollar until it screamed. I bought store-brand everything. I cut coupons. When the girls wanted name-brand jeans like their friends, I'd wait for sales and buy them 1 pair each for Christmas, wrapping them like treasure. I did this while Marcus told me we were comfortable but not rich, that we needed to be smart with money, that sacrifices now meant security later. And I believed him. God help me, I believed every word. That Tuesday, staring at that statement, I felt something crack inside my chest. It was the sound of 26 years of trust shattering. Because if there was $347,000 in a secret account, what else had been a lie? I didn't confront him right away. I'm not proud of that, but I was scared of being wrong, scared of what it meant if I was right. Instead, I did what I'd always done. I investigated quietly, carefully, the way I used to research cases at the law firm before I gave it all up. I found more statements, more accounts. I found credit card bills for dinners I'd never eaten, hotels I'd never slept in, jewelry I'd never worn. The jewelry killed me, because I was still wearing my original engagement ring, a tiny diamond that Marcus said was all we could afford back then. I told myself size didn't matter, love was enough. Turns out love wasn't enough, and that diamond was just one more lie. But here's where it gets complicated, where it hurts in that special way that only family can hurt you. My daughters didn't believe me at first. Bryn was 27 then, married to a dentist, living in Schaumburg with her perfect house and her perfect life. She'd always been Daddy's girl. Marcus had doted on her from day one, coaching her soccer teams, taking her to father-daughter dances, paying for her dream wedding without blinking. When I finally told her about the accounts, about the affairs, about the lies, she got quiet in that way that meant she was choosing not to believe me. "Mom," she said over coffee at Panera, picking at a cinnamon crunch bagel she'd barely touched, "are you sure? Dad's been under a lot of stress. Maybe there's an explanation." An explanation? Like there's a good reason to hide hundreds of thousands of dollars from your wife, while she's cutting coupons and feeling guilty about buying herself a $30 sweater from Target. Simone was worse. She was 24 in her first year of law school at Northwestern, her dream school, the one we'd barely been able to afford, the one that had required borrowing from Grandma's money. She looked at me across my sister's dining room table like I'd betrayed her personally. "You're going to ruin everything," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut. "Do you know how this will look? What people will think? I have a reputation to maintain. Dad has connections that could help my career." My baby girl, the one I'd rocked through colic, driven to debate tournaments, helped edit college essays at 2 a.m, she was worried about networking opportunities. I filed for divorce in November. By December, Marcus had hired a lawyer who made sharks look cuddly. By January, I'd learned that most of our assets were in Marcus's name only: the house, the cars, the investments. All those years of being a stay-at-home mom, they counted for nothing on paper. All those years of sacrifice, not documented, not valued, not real. My lawyer, a kind woman named Patricia with grey-streaked hair and tired eyes, laid it out for me. "Illinois is a no-fault state," she said. "The infidelity doesn't matter much. What matters is proving your contribution to the marriage and getting your fair share of marital assets. But if he's been hiding money, we need proof. Clear, undeniable proof." The divorce hearing was scheduled for May 14, 2024. Spring had come late that year. The trees were just starting to bud, everything green and new and hopeful. I felt none of that. I felt old and used and stupid for ever believing in forever. I dressed carefully that morning, navy blue suit from Ann Taylor bought on clearance. Pearl earrings my mother had given me. I wanted to look dignified. I wanted to look like I mattered. In the mirror, I saw a middle-aged woman with good bone structure and tired eyes. I saw someone who'd forgotten how to fight because she'd spent so long keeping the peace. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, less dramatic than TV had led me to believe. Fluorescent lights, beige walls, a clerk who looked bored. Marcus sat with his lawyer, wearing his charcoal suit, and that expression he got when he thought he was winning, slightly smug, slightly amused. Like this was all just a minor inconvenience. Bryn sat behind him. That hurt worse than anything. My oldest daughter, sitting on his side of the courtroom, like she'd already decided who deserved her loyalty. But Simone sat behind me. I hadn't expected that. We'd barely spoken in months. She'd been cold, distant, angry at me for destroying the family. But there she was in a black pantsuit, her hair pulled back, looking so grown-up it made my throat tight. She had her laptop with her, which seemed odd, but I was too nervous to think about it. The hearing started with the usual legal procedures: statements of intent, division of assets, arguments over who deserved what. Marcus's lawyer painted a picture of a man who'd worked hard, provided well, and was being unfairly attacked by a bitter ex-wife. My lawyer painted a picture of a woman who'd sacrificed her career, raised 2 children, and been systematically deceived and financially abused. Both pictures were true. That's what made it hurt. Then Marcus took the stand to testify about his income and assets. He claimed the hidden accounts were investments he'd made for the family's future. He claimed the credit card charges were business expenses that got miscategorized. He claimed he'd always been generous and fair with me. I watched him lie under oath, watched him perform sincerity like he'd practiced in a mirror, and I thought, I shared a bed with this man for 26 years. How did I not see this? The judge, a woman in her 60s with steel-grey hair and reading glasses on a chain, looked skeptical but not convinced. We needed more than suspicion. We needed proof. That's when Simone stood up. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady and clear, "I'd like to submit evidence on my mother's behalf." The judge looked surprised. Marcus's lawyer objected. My lawyer looked confused. We hadn't planned this. But Simone was already moving to the front of the courtroom, connecting her laptop to the court's display system with the confidence of someone who'd done this before. "What you're about to see," Simone said, and her voice cracked just slightly, "is a video I compiled from security camera footage, text messages, and financial documents that my father kept on his home computer. I accessed them legally. The computer was purchased jointly, and I lived in that house until last year. I'm willing to testify to the authenticity of everything you're about to see." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. Marcus had gone pale, actually pale, like someone had drained the blood from his face. Bryn leaned forward in her seat, confused. Simone pressed play. The video started with text messages blown up on the screen. Marcus to a woman named Jennifer, Can't wait to see you this weekend. Told Dee I have a conference in St. Louis. She never questions anything. Marcus to someone named Alex. The new account is set up. She'll never find it. She barely understands how our finances work. Marcus to Jennifer again. She's asking about Simone's tuition. I told her we had to borrow from her dead mother's inheritance. She actually cried. She's so fucking gullible. The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of my heart breaking. But Simone wasn't done. The video shifted to security footage from our home. I didn't even know we had cameras, but Marcus must have installed them for security and forgotten about them. The footage showed Marcus in our home office on the phone laughing. I'm telling you, man, it's the perfect setup. She thinks we're broke, I've got money stashed everywhere, and when we split, she gets almost nothing because it's all in my name. 26 years of free housekeeping and babysitting, and she walks away with pennies. It's fucking genius. I felt Simone's hand on my shoulder. She was standing behind me now and she was crying. The video continued. Maury footage, Maury messages, Marcus talking about hiding assets, Marcus joking about my stupidity. Marcus planning this, planning to divorce me, planning to leave me with nothing, planning to make sure I had no proof, no recourse, no power. And then the final part, financial documents, tax returns he'd filed separately without telling me, investment accounts in his name only, property purchased in other states, rental properties that generated income I'd never seen, a retirement account worth over $1 million that he'd somehow kept completely separate from our marital assets. The judge was no longer skeptical, she was furious. Mr. Reed, she said, her voice like ice, you lied under oath about your assets and income. That's perjury. You also appear to have committed financial fraud against your spouse. I'm referring this case to the district attorney, and in the meantime, I'm freezing all of your accounts pending a full financial investigation. Marcus tried to speak, but his lawyer grabbed his arm. Bryn was staring at the screen like she'd never seen her father before, because she hadn't. None of us had. But here's the thing that broke me and healed me at the same time. After the hearing in the hallway outside the courtroom, Simone told me everything. She'd known for 2 years. She'd found out during her sophomore year of college when she'd needed a tax document and had gotten into Marcus's email. She'd seen the messages, seen the accounts, seen the plan, and she'd been quietly gathering evidence ever since, copying documents, saving messages, preparing for this moment. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, crying in that fluorescent-lit hallway while lawyers and clerks walked past like our world wasn't ending. Because I needed to finish law school, she said, and her honesty was brutal and beautiful. Because if I'd told you earlier, if we'd done this earlier, Dad would have cut me off. He would have stopped paying tuition. And I needed that degree, Mom. I needed to be able to support myself, to support you. I needed to be able to fight him with the law, not just with emotions. So I waited. And I hated myself every single day for letting you hurt while I waited. But I waited. She'd used him. She'd let him pay for law school while secretly building a case against him. It wasn't morally perfect. It wasn't what I taught her about honesty and integrity. But it was survival, it was strategy. It was a woman learning to play the long game in a world that had taught her father he could play it too. I didn't know whether to be proud or horrified, so I was both. The financial investigation took 3 months. In the end, I got half of everything, the real everything, not the scraps Marcus had been willing to toss me. The house, half the retirement funds, half the investment accounts, alimony that reflected his actual income. It wasn't just about money. It was about being seen, being valued, being acknowledged as someone who'd contributed something real to a marriage, even if that contribution couldn't be counted in paychecks. Bryn eventually apologized. It took her weeks and several long, painful conversations. She'd believed her father because believing him was easier than confronting the fact that he'd lied to all of us. She'd chosen sides because she couldn't bear to think the man who'd coached her soccer team and walked her down the aisle was capable of such calculated cruelty. I understood that. I'd done the same thing for 26 years. Simone passed the bar exam in July. I was there when she got her results, and we cried together in a Starbucks parking lot, ugly crying, the kind that comes from surviving something you weren't sure you'd survive. She works for a firm that specializes in family law now. She wants to help women like me, women who gave up careers and power and independence because they trusted someone who didn't deserve it. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I bought a small condo in Oak Park, closer to the city with big windows and hardwood floors. I got a job at a law firm, turns out 26 years of managing a household and 26 years of legal experience from before I quit still counts for something. I'm dating, cautiously, learning to trust again in small doses. I cut my hair short, started wearing colours I'd always thought were too bold for me. I'm learning who Dalton Reed is when she's not just somebody's wife, somebody's mother. But I think about that video a lot. I think about Simone's face when she pressed play, the way her hands shook just slightly even though her voice stayed steady. I think about the version of myself who believed every lie, who accepted every excuse, who thought love meant sacrifice without reciprocity. I think about how close I came to walking away with nothing, not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally. How close I came to believing I deserved nothing. And I think about all the women like me, the ones who are 53 or 63 or 43, who have been told their contributions don't count because they can't be quantified, who have been told to trust, to wait, to believe, who have been made small and quiet and grateful for scraps. If you're one of those women, let me tell you what I learned: document everything, keep records, stay aware. Don't let anyone convince you that ignorance is bliss or that questions are betrayal. Your intuition is real, your contributions are real, your worth is real even if no one's written it down in a ledger. And sometimes, the daughter you're afraid has chosen sides, is just waiting for the right moment to press play.